Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I roped you in because...
Dragged me on.
dragged you on because you are my husband.
Yeah.
And...
I didn't have a choice.
No, you didn't have a choice.
No.
No, you did. Of course you had a choice.
Yes.
But I think you secretly might enjoy this more than you think you're going to.
We'll see.
And I think the world needs to get to know you a little bit more and how amazing your Viking wisdom is once you get going.
Okay.
And I think all the crazy conversations we've had, especially on our car journeys and holidays, there's been so many times where I'm like, this could have been a podcast. We should have recorded it. Sometimes I have a little bit in the car, haven't I?
Yes.
I literally recorded some of your
recorded
waffles.
my voice. Some of my rants. Yeah.
So, I'd like you to just share with everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living.
So, I'm obviously Francesca's husband. My name's Martin, and what I do for a living is I own a security company, a very small security company at the minute. We've been operating now for 3 years. 3 years in December, I think it is. We're on his third year. But me personally, I've been in security most of my life, 23 years now. Coming up to 23 years. So most of my life has been within the security industry in all aspects. Guarding, events, response team work, stages, pit team barriers, team leader, night managers on festivals, Glastonbury, Leeds Festival, all the major festivals in the UK, boxing events, football events, and then within that time, progressing up the ladder, I started setting my sights on, it's a qualification called close protection. And close protection is where, exactly what it says, you do individual security tasks, security details, like some people like to call it, where it's a fancy term for bodyguarding, and you high-end clients, celebrities, politicians, foreign royalty, things like that. But you're also protecting not just them, their assets, the reputation of that individual. So there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of preparation that goes into that on each individual client. Okay.
And I know why you got into security, but can you share with everybody watching?
I think, looking back, I think it took me a while to realise why did I get into security. I think it was more of a subconscious thing which just came into my life without much thought process, to be honest with you. But looking into my life now and looking back at my childhood and looking back at the kind of person that I was in the early stages of my life was, I remember this is a key point within my memory of my childhood. I remember being about 21-ish, and I was walking round the Tesco's where I used to live, and I bumped into somebody, and I knew the face, but I could not put a name to the face, and I felt embarrassed at first, I suppose, because this individual was calling me by my name, saying, "Oh, do you remember me? Do you remember me?" And I was just nodding like you do, because it's quite an awkward
that
situation.
Awkward moment where you're actually trying to listen to what they're saying, but you're also like, what is that person's name? I want to say the name, and this is so bad. And then you think, shit, I've not listened to what they've just said.
Exactly that situation. But I felt really awful as he was trying to speak to me, because firstly he mentioned my name, he called my name. Yeah. And it's even worse when they know your name and you don't know theirs, because you just feel rude, or you feel like, I don't know. But I must have had an impact in his life, because when it came to my mind that who he was actually in my class in school, in my year. and he came over in Tesco's. He came over to say thank you, and I only really remembered what he was saying thank you until after the conversation, and he walked away. But he was saying thank you for sticking up for him because he used to get bullied in class.
Yeah.
And he got bullied because of his race. And I was always that young lad in school that I would probably get beaten up more than most, but not because I was bullied personally, but because I was the type of person that would get annoyed when other people was being bullied, and I couldn't just stand there and watch that happen. So a lot of the times I would speak up, and that would cause me a lot of trouble a lot of the times. So, okay. I mean, that stood out for me, was the young gentleman in Tesco's. And I think that is what sparks the memory more than anything of why I probably subconsciously went into security, because my mindset on that was I can't just stand there watching something that's morally wrong in front of me without at least saying something or acting upon it.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a natural progression into security because of that.
Okay.
I didn't openly choose security. I think maybe the universe pushed me in that direction, but either way I ended up in that.
And maybe instinctively, because naturally, as you're saying, like, you couldn't stand back morally and just watch that happen.
Yeah.
You know, to somebody, for them to be bullied or targeted, you know, in a really unfair, unjust manner.
Yeah.
That you just instinctively have this nature about you to just step in.
Yeah, and as I've grown up, obviously we know more, we've matured more, so we know how to put certain things into words a bit more, but that term of everybody deserves to feel safety, everybody deserves to be safe, especially in society. I know that we're all animals still deep down, but society, we're purposely built for that. That's the reason why we have laws and the reason why we have police. So I think that everybody deserves to feel safe, and a lot of the times that's not the case. So I feel like naturally, without me even realising it, I were already destined or heading in that direction anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So next question.
Yeah.
Where were you before we met? Before we got together? Say, you know, wind back a year or two prior.
Okay. So I was in a place of denial. I was in a dark place, and I think a lot of that darkness came to be so dark because I was in denial. I was in the wrong relationship, surrounded by the wrong type of people, and you never truly realise or understand, being around the wrong type of people, what it can do to you. And in that circle of people, in that stage of my life, I completely lost myself in every aspect that you could imagine. Financially, my job. I didn't lose my job because I've always been self-employed. I've always worked for myself, and what I've built up within my life and in my career, I've done that off my own back. So it wasn't a case that I lost it. I had to take a break from it, which meant no income. Which also meant, I think with insecurity, the longer that you're out of it, you lose the confidence of being in it. Because to do this job, to do that job, you need a lot of confidence. You do need confidence. You have to, hold your head up high. You have to, it's what they call having a backbone. You go into a lot of situations, you're dealing with a lot of situations. What does take confidence, because a lot of people can sense when you're not confident. And that is a weakness in a lot of the situations. And that's not a good thing, having a weakness. So I wasn't mentally in a good frame of mind to be able to do that job. So yeah, I ended up losing a lot of income, taking a massive break out of security. I wasn't mentally stable enough to be in them authority positions, looking after clients and stuff like that. I couldn't look after the client if I couldn't look after myself.
Yeah.
As that relationship broke down for, some really, really bad reasons, I ended up being homeless for a little bit, living in a park, literally, under a tree. It was a nice tree, but it was still a tree. And I think I was homeless for the period of time that I was homeless was a lot longer than it needed to be, but pride kept me there a lot longer than it should have done. I did have people that probably could have given me somewhere to go, but mental health is a really weird thing. What I've learned from mental health from that stage of my life is that it isolates you. It makes you think that you're a burden to everybody. It makes you think that you are alone. It makes you think that you're not worthy of somebody taking you in. And then there were other aspects. I think that's more of a man thing. Men don't like admitting when they've failed in that sense. I didn't want to admit to the people around me that I'd failed and that that relationship that I'd failed, because for quite a long time my family and the people around me had told me that it was a bad relationship, had told me that they didn't like the individual, had told me that I shouldn't be with that person. And it's kind of
allowing that to, waiting for those words of "I told you so."
Yeah.
Or we spotted that, or we sensed
I didn't want to
right.
give them the justification through pride.
Yeah.
Of them to say, well, I did tell you. And I think in doing that, pride made the situation a lot worse. Like, I probably didn't need to be homeless for as long as I was. I probably didn't need to struggle for as long as I did. Also, during that time, I had a lot of problems, a lot of illness, cancer, kidney problems, urinating blood. I wasn't well, not just mentally, but physically. And I believe the body follows the mind. And I think because my mind was such in a dark place, but a lot of it will have been pity me as well. Mm-hmm. I do truly believe now, looking back, because I'm in a better place, a lot of mental health is pity me. Not all of it, because there can be trauma and there can be reasons why you do have mental health, but I do believe there is aspects of it where it is self-sabotage mode, it is victim mode, and then you only realise when you come out on the other side in certain aspects of it, you wasn't the victim, but the mental health, it almost convinces you. Yeah, I treat mental health like it's another person. Okay. It's another personality. That's how I see it. I see it almost like those who are suffering from real mental health, not people who would just have a down day. I went about with real mental health. I see it almost like it's an internal battle against another person, and that other person is very manipulative with how your mind works. As I said, it'll isolate you. It'll feel like you're alone when you're not actually alone. So yeah, we're in a really, really, really bad place. And yeah, one day I just thought I need to connect to myself. I realised that I lost myself. I realised that I lost every, even down to thought process. I remember being in them moments when it was really, really bad, and I couldn't tell you what were reality and what wasn't, even though my eyes were open.
So it was like disassociation.
Yeah, completely. I couldn't even tell you. I remember being awake. I remember obviously I was awake and I was sat on the sofa in my mum and dad's house and my dad were talking to me, and it genuinely felt like I was in a dream, like it wasn't real. I couldn't
it's
tell
disassociation. It's sometimes almost like it's a bird's eye view, It's it can be really disorientating.
It was, and the conversation was my dad basically saying that enough's enough. Like, you need to go and do something, go and get help, go and do whatever it was. I remember going to doctors, the doctors offered me tablets. There's nothing wrong with tablets. I think for a lot of people it can be a good escape. But me, on my own personal journey and my own beliefs, I don't think tablets weren't right for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't go down that course. What I did do is I sat back and I thought, how much have I lost myself? And I wrote a list and I put everything down to even my interests, my hobbies. And I look back and I hadn't done any of them for 3 years because my entire life was just invested into work and the surroundings and the people and the individual that I was with at that time. And that was very toxic.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I did was I looked from the list of hobbies, interests, and I started to do as many as them I could of course, at the time I had no money. So anything what I could do what were free, I would go and do. So I was the crazy, weird person who would be walking in the malls at 3 o'clock in the morning because I had insomnia.
Yeah.
And that was literally the mental health. My mind was just ticking and won't shut off. And it was processing and over-processing, and then every little bit of detail, what went wrong. You know, why am I like this? Why am I in this situation? Looking back, regret. What that does, it keeps you up a lot. So I was the strange person walking in the malls at 3 o'clock in the morning, walking to parks, anywhere. I'd go for miles, walk all the time. But what I found within that is that the more that I did that, the more that I was in nature, no matter what time it was, how dark it was, where it was, how far it was, the more I was in nature, the more my mind began to settle. Like, it slowed down.
Yeah.
Also, the exhaustion of walking so long and so far would help me sleep when I finally did, get home.
Well, it releases endorphins, doesn't it? Exercise,
yes.
We know that. And
yes.
Being in nature, trees are so calming. When you literally said it then, like, it slowed you down, it calmed you. I literally felt like the trees were breathing with you. It was just, that'll have been something Spirit was just showing me then, but it genuinely did.
Yeah, it does.
Feel like that. And I guess working in security, that you definitely didn't feel scared at night walking around in the dark.
No.
Other people might have felt a little bit intimidated, a strange man walking around in the middle of the moors.
Yes. I did used to think, well, this is kind of what serial killers do, but if there were another person out there walking around with me, he probably thought the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I believe the nature, the walking, the time to process in nature massively helped. It slowed my mind down enough where the disassociation stopped. That did stop. The sleep obviously will have helped. Bless. But it did stop, and because that stopped, it sort of like gave me a level of control, because I was very unsettled. I was all over the place. My life was completely unbalanced. My mind was unbalanced. When all that stopped and the sleep, I was getting better quality sleep and my mind was slowing down, I could then start planning on what I was going to do to get myself out of the situation.
Yeah, because now you'd moved in with your parents.
Yeah. I was in a better position then. I'd managed to move back to family. And also, there were a massive shame in that as well, because I was, 35?
Yeah.
35 years old. Now, maybe today that's not as so unheard of with the price of, the cost of buying your own house and the price of living now. There will be a lot of people in the 30s moving back in with the family. But for me, that was very difficult to do, to say, I'm still living under my mum and dad's roof at 35 years old. So that were a lot of ego to get rid of. But, I did that. I was in a better place, I was getting fed, which helps. The walking calmed my mind enough for me to then plan what I was going to do. And then the next plan was I was going to go somewhere where I could process my thoughts in a healthier way. So I started looking up for men's groups, handyman's club. Were good. I went to quite a few of them. But I also wanted to go back to more ancestral in a way, with my family being Scottish, Norwegian background, more spiritual. So I sought out within the local area meditation groups where I could calm my mind down. I could be a bit more at peace within myself, try and connect to myself a lot more. And I feel that's massively important when you've lost yourself, when you feel like you've lost yourself, being able to connect back to yourself. You can find everything you feel like you've lost pretty quickly because you never really lost it. You just haven't watered that piece of grass for quite a long time.
Yeah. You've been pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. That is probably the best explanation as to why my life turned how it did. Is because I was giving to that circle of people, the wrong circle of people. I had the wrong people at my table, and I was feeding them.
Not feeding yourself.
Not feeding myself, and I was overflowing their cups from a very, very empty cup, and that can only go on for so long before you crash or crack mentally. But yeah, as soon as I started going to the meditation groups, I felt a lot better. Nature, I was doing that every day as well. That didn't stop. The walking did not stop. I'd had a tent from working festival seasons. So sometimes I'd go wild camping on my own and just disappear on my own for like 2 or 3 days. That massively helped. Waking up in nature, being on my own.
The blackout tent.
Yeah, the blackout tent. No responsibilities. Because I feel as well, a lot of what people go through, especially in mental health side, can come from responsibilities, can come from problems. Now, at the time when I was homeless, and I lost everything, and I lost all my money, I lost all my savings, I lost an house, essentially, but I didn't lose the house, obviously. I left the shared home with that individual because that individual had kids and this, that and other, but I left the shared home. So in a sense, I lost a home.
Yeah.
I lost money. I was in debt. In my mind, in them moments, I thought, look how much I've lost.
Yeah.
Which then makes you feel like even more empty, even more of a failure. But as I started getting better with the meditation and the walking, I genuinely started to realise that, hold on a minute, now I ain't got no weight on my shoulders. I've got no responsibility. I feel free. I feel freer. And the more nature walking I was doing, and I could disappear at 3 o'clock in the morning, I could go wild camping, I had that freedom back. And that freedom is probably what put me on the right, that feeling of freedom put me on the right track a lot quicker than I think anything else would have done.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing me losing all that as not a loss at all. That was a blessing. That was like the universe saying, right, okay, this is not good for you. I've tried to warn you many times. Your parents and people around you have tried to warn you and you've not listened, so I'm going to take it away.
Okay.
And I look back on that and I think that was probably one of the best moments in my life when all that disappeared.
Yeah.
Because it was stagnant, it was not very good energy, it was dark energy, it was like living in a dark cloud. I had a lot of weight and a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on my shoulders to deliver to these people that weren't even my people, they weren't my group of people. And that was liberating, absolutely liberating. And then I joined some meditation groups. These meditation groups helped massively for me to connect to myself, as I say, and I learned a lot about quieting my mind. I learned a lot more about my spiritual side of me, which had been closed down for a long time. I think that's to do with ego within men. That's also to do with fitting in with groups, fitting in with your mates, you know, going to the pub, all this manly rubbish. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's stupid. But when you're younger, there's a lot of pressure as a boy, as a man, as a young man, to be like that.
Yeah.
Don't show emotions. Don't do this. Do, you know, this manly stuff. And if anything, I've learned that that's the least manly thing you can be, by hiding everything, because you're doing it out of fear. And a manly man shouldn't have fear.
Okay.
So it's the least unmanliest thing in the world. But yeah, and that's just before I met you. I was at that stage of trying to find myself within meditation groups.
Okay. You've mentioned the universe a couple of times since we started talking. What's your opinion on the universe illustrating divine intervention and carving a way to kind of like bring things into your path? You've used the word like, you know, the universe came and like moved things, and it was liberating and it brought freedom. Do you believe in divine intervention?
I do, yeah. And it happens in everybody's life. It's just that some people don't pick up on the message. Some people will call it God. Some people will call it the universe. Some people will call it angels, guiding angel, or whatever it is that you want to call it. It is some sort of, there's something there. It's almost like destiny, if you believe in destiny, like our paths are already written. I don't believe that, but I do believe it has some sort of design.
Okay.
You know, we are here for a purpose. Your soul came to this dimension, in this body, in this meat suit,
in this meat suit,
for a reason, for a purpose. And I believe every single person has a purpose. You know, as a soul path, you know, a soul. As a society, we look at classes, as in like, you know, higher class, people with money, important people. And then sometimes, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that look at homeless people and drug addicts as lower class. They have a purpose. They have a purpose, but unfortunately, they've steered down the wrong path. And some of them the universe may correct their path, or it may not. But every single person, no matter who you are, has got a purpose. You just need to find it.
Yeah.
You know, and I do believe throughout life that purpose will pop up and it will be there. You've just got to be open enough to see the signs. Okay.
So you definitely believe in divine intervention and the universe illustrating, you know, things happening and guiding you on a path, and I guess it's just whether you pay attention really to the signs all around you.
Yeah.
A bit like your angel numbers that I'm always talking about.
Yeah, it's more you with angel numbers. I don't really see, like, if I look at a clock and it is an angel number, I don't really register that it's an angel number. And that's not me saying that that's not real or anything like that. That's just not the way I would interpret it. Any universal energy or anything like that.
Yeah, like guides. Telling you you're on the right path. The other day when we got back from Asgarth Falls, I'd seen like 111 for 24 hours non-stop on everything, and you know, then I did a video about it. Like, I'm always seeing angel numbers everywhere.
But that's your signs that the universe is, or this energy, or whatever you want to call it, universal energy is sending you.
Yeah.
Every single person will have a different sign.
Yeah.
They'll have something that pops up in their life where they think, wow, what's that? You know.
So, do you feel it's fair to say that we can evidence in this discussion that universal intervention, divine intervention, played a part on bringing us together?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I think there is so many times throughout our journey where me and you have crossed paths or have been so close to crossing paths, but for whatever reason we didn't.
Yeah.
And that could be put down to, oh, well, it is just what it is. Or it could be put down as we weren't ready for each other.
Yeah.
Because,
part of me feels like it's that we weren't ready to receive each other yet.
Yeah, it's almost like I believe life, me personally, my opinion is that life is just genuinely a conveyor belt of lessons.
Yeah, massively.
That's all it is. That's what life is. It's just lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no such thing as failures. There's none of that. It's just lessons.
Yeah.
A failure is not a failure.
Mm-hmm.
A failure is just showing you a way of how something shouldn't be done or can't be done.
Yeah.
It's just a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we learn enough lessons within our life. One, how to mature. Like we might not be mature enough, or one of us might not be mature enough. We haven't learned enough lessons to deal with each other, with each other's past, or with each other's traumas, or to be able to be comfortable enough to hold space for each other. Because I do believe relationships is all about holding space, having patience for each other, choosing each other every single day. You know, we're not going to be best mates every day. We're not going to be. Well, we're not. There will be times throughout our life, because we're married now, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. There will be days where you feel, I don't love them. You know, I don't like that person. But love isn't just a feeling; it's a choice as well. Like,
it's a journey as well, I think.
Yeah, it's a choice. You've got to choose that individual every day, and by doing so, that can take a lot of maturity. And I think in some of the instances where, when we look back and I know that we have crossed paths, or we've nearly crossed paths, I might not have been mature enough in them stages. Yeah. And that could be another reason why the universe were like, not yet. Yeah, not yet. Maybe I had to go.
But then when I think back to all these times, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, if we'd have just seen each other then, because there are actually times where we've been right in front of each other, which we're going to share. Yeah. But when I think back, I think, oh my goodness, if the universe had have allowed it to take place then, like, oh, I could have saved myself all that shit. Yeah, oh my goodness, that wouldn't have happened, or that pain wouldn't have happened, or oh my god, I wouldn't be like regretting that mistake now. But then I'm also like, do you know what? I think
you had to.
We had to, because I wouldn't be the woman I am now, and would you be the man you are now?
No. Because I think the entire period of my life that I've just spoken about, that I've just referenced, is changed my outlook on life. I didn't have the same outlook that I have now, or perspective. You know, the same goggles when I'm looking at life as what I had before that incident. Yeah. I was a very laid back person. People used to say, if I were any more laid back, I'd be laid down.
Horizontal.
Yeah. Which sometimes can be a good thing. So I've always been quite a chilled out person. I'd never done anything in my life what would make. Obviously, I mean, this is for a different podcast about, you know, what I went through, and you know what I've seen and what I've been a part of and stuff like that. But on a whole, I don't think I've ever been through something what was so stressful. I was never tested like that, as in like the amount of stress I went through that period in my life. So I never knew how I was going to react in them instances. I didn't know what type of person I was in them environments, you know, with that much stress, with that much darkness. Yeah. Would I be the person what could bounce back? You know, now I know that I am that person, and I also know that you can't go any. Once you've hit rock bottom, there is nowhere else to go other than up and bouncing up. Yeah. You know, like, it's okay to hit rock bottom. Yeah. Before that instance, if somebody said, "Oh, you're going to hit rock bottom," that's quite a scary thought. You'd be petrified. But now it's like, okay.
Well, we're in spring equinox now, and it's like a seed. You have to be planted.
It's like, it's okay.
And dark into the soil.
If you hit rock bottom
before you can shoot up.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Follow
fine.
the sun.
It's absolutely fine to not be okay. It's absolutely fine to hit rock bottom. Usually when you're hitting rock bottom, it's because you've been living a lie.
You've not been authentic.
You've been living
somewhere.
You've been living in an avatar.
Something's out of alignment somewhere, and it needs shifting.
Yeah, so. You've been living a lie.
But I mean, if we start to unpick like the insane amount of divine alignment and like crossing of paths where we were so close but not ready to receive each other yet.
We were so close but so far at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like it must have been around 8 years worth of us, like timelines.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not a typical story of we were friends before we met. We've never actually been friends. We've never actually knew of each other. But the amount of times that we've crossed paths with each other is it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is literally like, I said to my best friend today when I was walking around New Millerdam, I was like, we were literally meant to meet each other. Yeah. And I told her even more moments of, you know, as being so close. And she was like, I can't believe that. And I was like, neither can I. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's because we are all destined in a sense. I know destiny, a lot of people don't like that word. I don't like that because it means that your path's already set. But I do believe that our souls are meant to connect to certain individuals. Some people are lessons. Again, life is lessons. Some people are just walking through to teach you a lesson, and they're not designed to be staying in your life.
Well, it's like lessons, blessings, seasons, reasons.
Yeah, well, I genuinely do believe the person in my who I was speaking about in that person was sent into my life and crossed paths in my life to learn me a lesson. Now I can look back with bitterness towards that person, or I can see it as in that was a lesson.
Yeah, and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for that lesson.
Yeah, because that's shown me who I don't want in my life. That's shown me a version of myself that I do not want to be.
Did it teach you boundaries?
It taught me boundaries. It taught me self-worth. It also taught me to keep an eye on how my life's going. Because a lot of people fall into routine, and then
that mundane
autopilot, and then they don't actually see what's going off around them. Before they know it, they've stopped doing all their activities they used to do.
They've lost themselves again.
Yeah, but they don't even know they've lost themselves. And then when it finally hits that they've lost themselves, they call that a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
But they've lost themselves well before that mental breakdown because they're not keeping an eye on the present.
Yeah.
They're looking to either the future or the past, or they're just in autopilot routine. I think it's very healthy to just keep checking in where you are. Yeah.
I think that's why it's good as a couple to have, like, you know, if you can't do weekly, you've got to do monthly or something. Like, are you okay? Do we need to have a discussion? Like, you know, have you got anything on your mind? Yeah. You know, you've communication is key. We know this.
Yeah.
So back to the divine intervention and the universe illustrating, you know, when you are ready to receive the right partner to spend the rest of your life with. I think for us, is it fair to say that you'd agree that we realised we'd been in each other's lives when my really long-standing friend of like, well, let's work it out. We met when we were like 11. And I'm now 30. How old have I just turned?
6.
No! How old have I just turned?
36.
No! I wish I was.
No, 37. I was trying to make it healthy for you. Because you were really upset when you turned 20.
Okay, yeah, I was. A little bit. Because I'm just not 37 in the body. Like, in my head, I'm like, what?
20, 21, 22.
Yeah, so that. So, yeah, if I met that friend when I was 11 in year 6, it's a long time we've been friends. when I went out with her for a brunch, when you dropped me off, we'd literally just started seeing each other in that June of 2023.
Yeah.
Neither of us were aware of, like, well, we were briefly aware of the severity of things we'd both been through in the past.
Yes.
You know, you'd shared some insights into what you'd been through. I'd literally shared with you the severity of what I'd just been through.
Well, actually, I said I didn't want another relationship.
Yeah, you did.
And because it's an awful thing to say now.
No.
But you've got to be.
Yeah, but you've got to be honest.
You've got to be honest. But at that time, I didn't like women.
Yeah.
And that's awful to put that, not hate, but dislike onto all women.
Yeah.
But I didn't like women.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the sense that I wasn't attracted to women. I mean, as in, like, I did not like the idea of being with another person.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's my guard going back up. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But you just got to realise that not every single person's like that. You can't tarnish everybody with the same brush. So at the time when we met, there was an attraction. There was an attraction.
If we rewind properly, we met a little bit over social media in the January of 23, didn't we?
Yes.
But that was just you inquiring about
a men's group.
And meditation nights and asking me for guidance because you knew that I was, you know, a practitioner in certain different things.
Yeah.
And I signposted you away, you know, to groups and things.
Yeah.
And then it was the March of 23, April.
We
bumped into each other again at an event, didn't we?
We did.
And I remember you just smiling at me, and I remember just feeling like you had really gentle eyes, and it was just felt, you know, non-intentional, just a gentle exchange of eye contact, and you really helped, you know, my youngest child at the time play the African drum. And that was it. We didn't really speak at all much, you know. I think it was literally like a hi, thank you, you know, and that was it. And then it was, you know, you came to a few guided meditations that I was hosting, you know, through mutual friends as well. It wasn't even like, I think I was just covering, wasn't I? I was literally like helping out, you know. It's not even an area that I live in, you know. I was just literally helping out. And then speed up a couple of months into the June. And
there was an attraction there. There was, for me anyway, there was an attraction there straight away, but I still had this lingering feeling like I don't like women.
Yeah.
So I believe when it came to the point of, or when it came to the time of you asking me, because I think even though that you've been through a lot of bad things in your past to do with men, you also had a grace period of when that happened to meeting me, whereas mine wasn't long after meeting you. So I was still very much like, nope, I don't want to do with it.
And I was trying to be nope, but I also had my daughter like, Mum, why are you not with that Viking man? Which it was hilarious. But for me, I mean, we know this, like, I think I fell first. But that was, it was one, the Jamaican hoodie, and it was two, like, you building fire in the garden while I was making cacao, and everyone was like, insane. And then I was like, who's this Viking in my garden?
I don't so much, I don't think you fell first, in a sense. Because I did have feelings, but I was so confused on them feelings because I still had the... I do not want to go through what I've just been through again. But
to be fair, when Faith had said, you know, that morning after we'd all, you know, had that fire and everything at the house, and the next morning on the way to her GCSE exam, she was like, Mum, why are you not with that Viking man? Like, you need to message him and ask him out on a date. And I was like, absolutely not. It's way too soon. Been through too much. Not interested. Of course, I was like aesthetically interested, and there was this... You know, that day I answered the door to you and you turned up with a firewood and I gave you this hug and it was like a soul hug.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, this is awkward. I just held on for a bit too long.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, why am I hugging this person that I've never really met properly before? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But, you know, if it wasn't for her actually saying that, would I have ever sent that message? Who knows? Would I have had the bravery then to say, do you know what? This is really crazy. Let's chat.
But it happened.
And
what is it now? 7 or 8 years ago, I think.
But only when we actually started properly saying let's spend a bit of time together.
Yeah.
In that June.
That's when we realised.
Did we then realise when you dropped me off for brunch with that friend?
Yes.
Of mine for 20 odd years. And you dropped me off, and she was not happy that I was she was like, after everything you've been through, this is way too soon.
Yeah.
And when she said, so who is this Viking man then? Because that's what I just kept calling you.
Yeah.
And when I said, well, he's called Martin. And then she was like, he doesn't work in security, does he? And I was like, yeah. Well, that's what he says he does. Because obviously I was still like, do I even believe everything? Because of, what's happened in the past with relationships. And when I showed her a picture, and then you had to bring my phone back, didn't you? Because I left my phone in your car when you dropped me off for the brunch.
I did, yes.
So you brought my phone back. She wouldn't even answer my phone because you were so polite.
Yeah.
And so courteous. You wouldn't answer my phone. So I was ringing Faith to say, can you message Martin and say, Mum's phone's in the car? Answer it, she's trying to ring you. And when you brought it back, she saw you through the windows of the bar and she was like, you've met him before, Fran? And I was like, no, I have not. And she was like, you have met him before. He let us in to Cocoon Festival at Temple Newsome. Do you not remember him? And I was like, I do remember some security guys, actually, because our wristbands weren't working.
Yes.
And that must have been...
me that let you all in.
2018, 19.
Yeah, there were a problem with Scanner.
Yep, and I've actually got the picture somewhere of what I was wearing that day, me and her there at Cocoon, because it was not a festival I'd ever go to. It wasn't my type of music, event, anything. And she just happened to have a random ticket spare that day. I just happened to luckily have childcare. And I was not interested in men that day. I was so pissed off. I hated men. I was in that stage of my life where I was just don't want anything to do with them. I just want to go. I actually just wanted to get really pissed. Didn't care about anything. But I remember the wristbands not working. And there was 3 of you security guys coming down. I remember you being super tall, super broad, and thinking, no, not even entertaining it, not bothered. And you let us in and you got us... We went for a drink at the bar, because you knew her, and you'd been friends with her for how long?
I must have met her a good 5 years probably before that, maybe. Yeah.
So you knew her, and
I know
it was not her husband at the time, but they're now married, aren't they?
Yes, I knew her and a partner, yeah.
And bear in mind, she's my longest ever friend.
I know, it's a bit crazy. The first time I met them two, I was invited randomly back to their house to a party.
Yeah.
And I remember being in their house, didn't really know them that well. I just spoke to them a few times. And I remember stood in their kitchen in their house, and her partner was very drunk. And she was very drunk, and there were loads of people in her house, and I'm just stood there thinking, this is nice, but I don't know anybody here. Why am I here? It turned out, actually, as the night progressed, and I got speaking to them, they were really lovely people.
Yeah.
And they were my kind of people. So.
Yeah. Well, they were my kind of people too, but I didn't go to many of their house parties because I had a little tribe of children. And, and
I'm not much of a partier.
Had a very busy life.
That's the craziest thing. I'm not really much of a partier because of the security, doing, the doors and doing all this for all the long period of time that I've done it. I see the other side of partying.
Yeah.
So, for me, I don't really like partying. No. It's being at work, technically.
So yeah, you were not like...
Me actually even going to a house party is very rare.
Yeah.
So for me to go to their house party was very unusual for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met them, which then later on led to me meeting you through them.
Yeah, which obviously that night when I was on the brunch...
That's almost like divine timing.
Yeah, when I was on the brunch that night with her, by the time you'd picked me up, we started to unpick, how do you know her? She's my longest ever friend. This is insane.
Yeah.
How can you have been going to her house parties and we've never crossed paths?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We then started to unpick it a little bit more. And we realised that you'd been living behind me in Pudsey in
Yeah.
Leeds for
A long
year
time,
or two.
a long
I was
time,
in Pudsey for 8 years.
Yeah, I lived there for 3 years, probably.
Yeah. And where you lived was literally like a couple of streets behind me.
It was, yeah.
Like up.
Yeah.
You know, which is just insane. Because I would be walking past that street all the time to take the kids to school. I'd go into the town centre. Always, we've discussed like going into the same Sainsbury's or the leisure centre or cafes. I used to run the breastfeeding group in Pudsey for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I set that group up. So it's just like, how, in that time that we lived in Pudsey, did we not cross paths? Or maybe we did, but again, we didn't see each other.
Again, I do believe it's because I was not the person I needed to be to meet you at the time that I needed to meet you.
Yeah. And the one pub that you said you did ever go in Pudsey, I walked past and thought, oh, that looks like a nice pub, but I'm not a massive drinker unless it's like my birthday, just once a year blowout, or, you know, a random stop off after a nice walk, you know, for a little fruit cider, but I'm not a massive drinker either, so there was the friends, then there was the area, there was then the fact that you had certain people in circles that I networked with in circles, like my brother's mum. She had some friends that she introduced me to and we used to meditate with, but yet your previous partner was in a similar circle of those people as well. And then there's the room that I used to rent to do Reiki. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, you used to rent a room in
Leeds City
Centre from a person from obviously she'd rent the room and the actual space to do her treatments, and that individual who owned that company
was friends with somebody that I was friends with.
Was also friends with somebody who you were friends with, but also it was that individual during the dark times. It was her sister, so I helped them move the furniture into that shop, weirdly,
and decorate
and help them bits and bats decorating and things like that, and then.
But that was after the first lockdown.
That's as much as I went into that shop. I think I visited that shop probably 3 times. But after that, when it were open.
Okay, so that shop, I started renting a room there just once a month after the first lockdown, just to do Reiki treatments for clients. And I was every single month I was packed out that day. Yeah. But the fact that you'd even been in that building, you know, potentially being in the room that I was doing treatments in, is just crazy. Because I had the logo of the building on my advertisement flyers for business.
Yeah, smart.
And then we find out when we talk that, you know, the other person renting the building with my friend.
So I remember going into town and trying to get them to lower the bollard so I could drive up outside the actual building so I could carry stuff up.
Yeah. Like, how crazy is that? I mean, we could have literally walked past each other on the stairs, and would we have known?
No, probably not. But that's what I mean. I believe that we didn't connect on, because we did meet. We met at the Cocoon Festival, in a sense. We met. I think I said hi to you and you probably said hi back. I sorted out the scanner and you guys went in and enjoyed your time. But I believe that because we didn't connect, because we wasn't ready for each other. I think you have to be. The possibility of it is that I think you have to be at a certain stage in your life for two people to really truly connect. Mm-hmm. Because how many? I mean, there's kind of proof in pudding with certain aspects. So, like, how many people are good for each other, but it's just wrong timing, and it might be somebody has a job that in that moment in their life, therefore their career or they're career driven. And they have a job that takes them away from that relationship, and even though they love that person and even though that they're good with that person at that moment in time, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So timing is a massive aspect for people. Maturity, that kind of thing. And I think we would, in them moments, we hadn't learned enough lessons about ourselves, about what it is that we wanted, about, you know, who you're wanting to build with, that kind of thing. Because even when you're younger, you think you know what you want. You think you know exactly what it is that you need. But you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't at all.
And I think, in regards to the lessons, it was so ironic that you came into my life at a time where I really did need to be kept safe.
Yeah.
And the fact that you worked in security. You know, you said towards the beginning of this podcast, everybody deserves to feel safe.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, we are animals, so a lot of times you don't feel safe because there will always be that aspect in human nature. What is violent, what is, you know, destructive, greed, whatever. But that causes a lot of people then to be unsocial, like society, that, you know, they don't fit in or they're going against the grain. So that's why there is police officers, that's why there is an army. You know, that's why we do have military, that's why we do have security and stuff like that. But I think deep down, the core values of society is that everybody should feel safe.
And at the time when I met you, you know, I made it really clear that I'd not been safe, you know, that I'd had to go down certain processes like Clare's Law and things like that. And your line of work and the person that you are, I genuinely believe that the universe sent you to keep me and my children safe. Genuinely. 100%, because, well, it's just what you do, and you just bring that element of safety, you know, to us. You know, you are an extremely calm person, and bring that, you know, lovely balance, that equilibrium. And you just couldn't write it with everything that I'd been through, which I'll share. Maybe you'll have to interview me one day. maybe
so. There's a lot to go for.
You know, and unpick that story. But the fact that you were sent at that point in my life for us to cross paths, I wouldn't have been able to open that box and go through what I went through, sharing, you know, what happened to me and whatnot, if it wasn't for your support to do that, to go to the authorities and the police and things and say, look, you know, this actually happened. And I wouldn't have been able to step out of, you know, a career that was really dysregulating, even though I loved it. I wouldn't have been able to step out of that, because that being safe, you know, it's okay getting yourself safe at home, but if you go into work every day in a job or an environment that is taking you back into that, you know, dysregulation of your nervous system, you can't ever really truly do the healing because it's so unbalanced. So you helped me step out of that career as well, because it wasn't a safe environment. So
I also think, though, as well, I mean, this is slightly a different topic, but it aligns in. Obviously, I'm thankful that I could give that support where you felt safe enough to be able to do that. But I also think I love masculinity, but I also love femininity. You know, the feminine side of a woman. Your job at the time was very masculine, so you had to be in your masculine all the time.
And raising 4 children at the time on my own, you step more into your masculine because I'm playing
authority,
both sides of mother and father.
You know, discipline, showing this, that and other. And because you were in your masculine majority of the time, and people are going to probably say something on this, you're weaker. Because...
Oh yeah, you'll have just gone...
Yes. You're weaker because a woman's not supposed to be in the masculine.
Yeah.
A woman should be in the feminine, because in the feminine, that's where the true power is. Because women's femininity is more powerful than men's masculinity, I believe. So, because you couldn't be your true self and you're constantly in your masculine, it would have masked. Masculine mask, it would have masked for you. So you wasn't really truly living in your true power. And I think maybe me being calm and coming in and being that supportive thing gave you enough space, enough
vulnerability.
Yeah, to be able to shift from the masculine back into your feminine, to truly find yourself, to build your own confidence up to do that.
And I have never had anyone hold space in that way to allow me to be truly back in my femininity. Like, my hair now has never been as long since, I've never had my hair this long I've always wanted long hair, and it's never even been this long. There's loads of aspects that, I mean, we could go on for we'll have to do another whole podcast on that in regards to, you know, the divine masculine and the feminine, because after raising children for so long on my own, even if I had, you know, an ex-husband there at the time, an emotionally unavailable, you know, husband, doesn't allow you to step into your femininity and explore
because
that,
you've got to then you've got to pick up everything.
Yeah, when they're not present, when they're always out or with friends or fishing or you know, working, and they're just never there. You know, they're not present. There's a total difference. It's like parenting now. Now we have our own child together, and I'm seeing what it's like to raise a child with a present father. It's a totally different experience. You know, we'll have to cover that as well, because it really is. You can really see the difference of attachment parenting with a child that has the divine masculine and feminine. And I do think it's really important for children to have both.
Yeah.
And that's because I've done it on my own, and I've also done it with, you know, a parent that is emotionally unavailable, and it's not great for the kids. It's really not. I can totally see the difference, and it's a tough pill to swallow as a parent that your child hasn't had that same opportunity. Or
but you going into your masculine is not a conscious decision. It's a subconscious decision through survival. Because, you know, the testosterone that runs through you, because, you know, women do have testosterone, you are also built for survival, you know, territorial. You do have that in you, the fierce side of a woman.
That's the fierce mama lion that comes out if my children need defending and protecting. That comes out
That's
then.
a subconscious switch to masculine in them moments. But you're only supposed to be a masculine from that adrenaline rush, or a masculine for that, you know, that situation. Then you're supposed to go back in. But there is a lot of women in society, because of maybe relationships and
or
abuse,
domestic violence,
all this sort of stuff, that end up staying in the masculine. And then,
well, we met with somebody the other day, didn't we? And she actually said to us, I don't know if I actually am lesbian. She was like, but because of what she went through, and she shared a bit of her past relationship with a male, that's why she ended up going with a woman. I mean, that's a totally different topic and another exploration. You know,
because it can force people, like what you've been through. It can force and change your life in such ways that you don't even think.
Well, the amount of times I've literally said it to friends as jokes, like, God forbid anything ever happened to me and you, like, I'd be lesbian, like, I would never go near him.
No, but
but how many times do you hear that phrase from women?
But that's through that. Yeah, but that's through. You know,
bad experience.
A bad experience, but then.
But imagine if I'd have tarnished every male
Yeah.
with that after what I have been through, which a lot of people have said, I don't even know how you're still here, Fran. You know, if I'd have had that perspective, then we wouldn't be sat here now. We wouldn't have had just like the most amazing 3 years together and have the most beautiful daughter. And
yeah, but there's also the aspect of, like I was saying before earlier on in this video, that do you see, maybe, I don't know, it's easier for me to say this because there is going to be people at home that are going through completely different, traumatic, completely horrendous things, what's happened in their life, and they just can't let go of that, and that's also okay, because, you know, it's just how we deal with it. It's their journey, and this is how individually people deal with their own stuff. But for me, I can let go of stuff pretty easily now, because I learn in my own mind and truly to my core that something's bad when it happens. Obviously, you have the emotions, you deal with it, you process it, whatever. You can be angry at it, you can be angry for months, you can be spiteful, you can be whatever you want. But eventually, you do have to flip. Even if you have to do it yourself and it doesn't happen naturally, you have to flip it to the point where you think that was just a lesson. Let go of the attachments, let go of everything else. Just treat it as such, as it was a lesson. Because it is a lesson. That's all it is. Take all the other feelings out of it. Take everything else out of it. Take the nastiness, the bitterness. I know some people are going to be like, well, that's stupid, that's ridiculous.
Well, I find it really hard to agree with that because I'm so empathetic. I feel everything. So for me, I'm like, I can't take the emotions out of the feelings.
No, I get it. But eventually you're going to have to.
But for you, you're entitled to that because that's your opinion and that's your experience.
I might be wrong, but I'm just saying from my own perspective, that's helped me massively by doing so, because if I had carried on with half of the stuff of still holding that anger, still holding that resentment, still holding this, still holding that, that's actually limiting me to move forward and become the person that I want to be, because I'd still be stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And being stuck in the past means that you'll never progress.
Yeah.
And if you don't progress, there's no future. So reality is you need to be in the present, forget the past because it's gone, you can't change it.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can't press rewind.
Nope.
I wish you could, but you can't.
Yeah, so you could rewind. I've just remembered all the way back to, you used to let my dad into nightclubs.
I did.
God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore. Yes. But you even let my own dad into nightclubs. And a long time back.
Yes.
When you were a teeny bopper, early 20s, you were letting him into,
I was, yeah.
What was the club called?
West Indies Club. There were loads of different ones. Yeah. Yeah, mad.
So crazy.
But yeah. And I think that's massively helped me, learning how to let go of things. But it's not even so much like when someone says let go of things, it's not even let go of them as in like, oh, it doesn't matter. Of course it still matters to you. Of course it does. To say that something does not matter to you. But don't let it. But don't let it infest. Don't let it like a plague. Don't let it take over you. Don't let it control your thought process and how you operate day to day. Don't let it force judgment onto certain things. Like trauma is a really weird thing. People they'll go somewhere and because they've had something happen or whatever, it could be a song.
Yeah,
get that off. Yeah. Turn that off because it reminds them. What I mean by that is don't.
When you've worked through it, when you can listen to that song anymore.
Yeah. But if you can, almost get some anger towards the fact of that actually stopping you from listening to the song. It's better. Yeah. It's better to be angry at the fact that is stopping you from listening to that song than being angry at the actual incident.
Yeah.
Because by being angry at that, you can sort of like treat that incident like that's the enemy.
But we know that anger can be a really good, healthy emotion if it is channeled in the right way.
It's all about channeling. Everything's about channeling.
And anger is literally an emotion that comes because we feel upset or sad about something, and usually we've not been able to process that sadness or that upset, and we've gone flipped our amygdala, and we've gone to anger, and we're up at 10. But when we finally connecting to what made us angry, I'm actually angry because I actually feel really sad that that's happened, or that situation's really upset me. But again, that means you have to connect into feeling, and a lot of people don't want to feel.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, I could be wrong on so many levels, and some people might watch this and think you are absolutely full of it. Do you know what I mean? But what I've learned for myself is that what's more sadder? Still being affected like that for the rest of your life to the point where you can't progress into the person you want to be because you're so focused on that.
On the past, yeah.
Or the incident itself. I think, me personally, to not become the person you're supposed to be because that power, that incident's taking your power away, is a lot more sadder than whatever went on.
Okay.
That's just my opinion though.
Well, you're totally entitled to your opinion.
Yes. So well, and that's the intervention side of things. I do think
there is a lot.
The universe has plans.
The universe has plans. I like that.
It does.
Well, thank you for being a waffle wanker with me.
You're more than welcome.
And I'm going to be calling you back like soon for another one because we've got loads to explore.
Okay.
Probably. So thank you. And until next time, always be kind and have courage.